This very morning, I met with two customers of ours in my office here in Charlotte, North Carolina. A man and a woman come in and they begin to talk about their Salesforce. The guy said that one of his new sales reps came into his office in tears caused by constant rejection from cold calls. The reason? She was selling her stuff and had nothing to talk about the prospect's stuff. They were selling radio ads, 60-second, 30-second, 60-second radio ads. And I'm pretty expert at radio ads because I do a lot of them. I know that it takes about 90 words to do a 30-second one and about 180 words, 2 times 90, to do a 1-minute one. Actually, you can squeeze, for some reason, you can squeeze a couple more words in on the 1 minute. I don't know why. But I recommended that they come to me and take a writing lesson on how to write a 30-second radio commercial and how to write a 1-minute radio commercial in favor of the customer. So before anybody makes a cold call, they will have written out a 30-second or a 60-second commercial about their prospect and they will have recorded it. Oh, they can take all their brochures, all their Arbitron stuff and leave it at home because no one is interested in it. Every single person that's ever walked into their office about a commercial or an advertising thing for anything always talks about their literature, always talks about their rating, always talks about their stuff, and it's a bunch of hooey that no one is paying any attention to because everybody hates advertising, but everybody wants what advertising does, bring them customers. So, their new cold call is going to sound something like this. Hi, I'm Mary. I'm from station WIIFM, and I prepared an amazing 60-second radio commercial for you. Who would like to listen to it? That will absolutely throw them off of their center. The next question, once these people come out, you say, well, if you love it, I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of it. And it's not just our radio stations, but it will work for your TV commercials. It will work on your website. You can use it as a Twitter post and, of course, on your Facebook page. Holy mackerel. That's not a cold call. That's not, and in the mind of the prospect, they don't think it's a cold call. They think it's a sweet deal. And they just did all my work for me. So the prospect is going to say, so Mary, how do we get started? Not, I got to talk this over with my ad agency, la-di-da. Mary is now showing the value of a personalized commercial that says how great the customer is rather than her corporate brochure and baloney that brags about how great she is. And I challenge you right now to start to think of what you could do for your customers in favor of them so that when you walk in on a cold call or you call up for a cold call, rejection is not one of their options. You will have engaged them. Brochures are collateral, not sales tools. So, you might be asking yourself right now, what is the new cold call? Let me give you the answer. It's a combination of the old cold call made smarter and you, the salesperson, doing a little bit more work on the front end so you don't get thrown out on your rear end. But before I get too deep into this new process, let me give you some reality about cold calling. My buddy Frank Rambuscus says cold calling destroys your status as a business equal. That's pretty interesting. He also says cold calling makes you look like you're begging. You have no power while you're on a cold call. Prospects can simply throw you out or hang up. You're zero. Prospects speculate. If you have no referrals and have to resort to cold calling, are you giving your customers bad service? Is your company so broke that they can't afford marketing of some kind to generate leads? Or what are you really doing in social media? Or is it kind of zero? In my opinion, and in Frank's opinion, cold calling limits your earnings. And there's only so many hours in the business day, and cold calling is extremely time consuming. Bringing leads to you instead of spending hours cold calling frees up a substantial amount of time that can be used to close sales with qualified prospects. But also, preparing in favor of them makes you more engaging. Your income then goes up exponentially. Cold calling makes timing work against you. You have to allocate so many hours in a day or in a week to go out and talk to people who are relatively not interested in you. They already have what you have. And you take not interested as a rejection. No. When someone says they're not interested, what it says is you are not interesting. The odds of making a cold call at the exact time a prospect is in a buying mood or mode for your product are zero. When prospects want to buy, they go online or they ask around to find out to other people to find out what they're looking for. They're not waiting for you by the phone with their hand over top of the phone going, boy, I sure hope those pushy salespeople call to give me a dumb pitch because that's what I'm hoping for. I hope somebody calls and asks me for 5 minutes of their time so they can come over to my place and puke all over me. You need to position yourself in this world to be found. Once you're found, you can actually be respected. You have a reputation. You could be invited in. You see, the old world cold calling is kind of fading away. If you go to bigger cities right now, the security at the front desk of some big buildings is so stringent. Even here in Charlotte, you have to show your driver's license. Somebody has to be called on a certain floor. And when you walk into the elevator, you don't even push a button. The elevator takes you where you said you were going. Years ago, a prospect would welcome you in, even have a cup of coffee with you and listen to your pitch. Today, you're going to get the cops called on you if you go in the wrong place. Tolerance for cold calling is fading very fast, either on the phone or in person. And you say, well, what about email? No, they don't. It's not intolerable. They just hit the delete key. Don't you get spammy kind of cold call emails in your thing and you see the little indents with the little bullet points and then you just delete the thing? Don't you? I do. Cold calling also destroys morale because there's so much rejection attached to it that even you doubt your circumstance. Call reluctance is the product of endless, excessive rejection from cold calling. Now, I've defined call reluctance other ways, but it's normally either fear of rejection or lack of preparation or both. Contrary to popular belief, repeated rejection does not toughen you up. What it does is makes you want to quit. Endless cold call rejection puts you in a downward spiral and hurts your mental attitude and the attitude of everybody else who's in listening shot of your voice. It hurts your image. Why are you cold calling? What are you, a rep? Huh? A rep cold calling, going banging up on doors? You're going out hunting? Hunting and farming. Those are two things that I immediately reject out of hand. I want somebody that builds relationships. I don't care about a hunter and a farmer. First impressions count. Most opinions, or most people's opinions of others, are based on the 10-second first impression. When your first impression consists of an annoying human being, how good is your long-term image going to be? Oh, I'm calling today because I thought you might be interested in what we have to sell because I know you already have it and I'd have to bump somebody that's already there and you have a relationship with them. So could you do me a favor and hang up quickly? Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Sales success requires building trust and establishing credibility. Starting out with a cold call makes both of those elements either difficult or impossible. Frank Rambuskas is a buddy of mine. Some of the things that I just talked to you about include some of his philosophies, and I want to make sure that he's acknowledged. He's the never cold call again guy, and he actually makes sense. I don't know whether you've ever looked at his websites or gotten his emails, but if you, his name is up here and his website is up here, just take a look at him. He's a great guy. To me, cold calling is the biggest cause of negative attitudes. Because not only does it affect you as a salesperson, but everyone you come in contact after a day of rejection is also infected. Not affected, infected. Cold calling is the top reason that salespeople quit their jobs. It's even more of a downturn than a bad manager, if that's possible. Continued rejection is the biggest cause of salespeople losing belief. They lose belief in their product, their company, and especially they lose belief in themselves. If you're still cold calling the old way and are lazy, here are some strategies that will reduce beating your head up against the wall. In other words, if you don't want to go to the work habit of preparing something personal for your prospect in advance, like I've just told you, then I'm going to show you some ways that you can take your existing cold calls and make them better. First of all, if your boss tells you to go make 100 cold calls, agree with him as long as he makes them with you. That ought to shut him up. I'm challenging you to use LinkedIn. Here's how to do it. Go to the advanced search button all the way to the right of the person that you're looking up and enter the zip code of where you want to be, a keyword, a title, an industry, a position, and hit the 50-mile button. You got it? Real easy. That's what the screen looks like. So I'm looking up radiologists, and I wanted to be in postal code 28202, 50 miles away from the center of Charlotte. 28202 is downtown Charlotte. That's pretty simple, isn't it? I want everybody. Now, I could go for my first connections, but I don't really know how many radiologists are in my first connection pile. Anyway, I'm going to find, within 50 miles of Charlotte, I'm going to find 85 or so people. I don't know what the total number is here, but there's 58 results. And I want to look up this guy, Jamie N., and I don't even know his last name. Just get that. So don't be, well, they wouldn't give me his last name because I wasn't subscribed at the upgrade level. You don't have to upgrade. You just have to use your head. So I click on Jamie N's file, and it says see full name. When you click it, it says, please give me money. That's kind of a downer. But you're a salesperson. You're going up, up, up. Okay. So I find out that he's got 123 connections, and I'm going to click on his company website just to see, because he's a staff radiologist at Mecklenburg Radiology Associates here in Charlotte. If you try to connect with Jamie and your title is sales rep, you're dead. Figure out a better title. Okay, so here's the website of Charlotte, of Mecklenburg Radiology Associates. That's their homepage, and it shows some pictures of x-rays. Now that's pretty cool. And what I'm going to do is go to the About Us file, and I'm going to find all the people. This is the first one there, Beth. She did. I don't know what her name is. She's with the woman who's pictured there. But you're going to go to Jamie Bryan Noonan. Remember that, Jamie N. Okay, I'm going to click on that to see if it's the same one, and ta-da! There he is. He's an MD. He's been on the staff since 2008. He went to Emory University. He did his residency. He did his internship at Caroline Health Systems in Roanoke. He went to Harvard to do his residency. Rock the house. That's pretty darn good. And it shows what he's a member of, his honors and all the other special interests. He's interested in economics and business of medicine and radiology. Okay, cool. I'm going to Google the guy, aren't you? I'm going to Google him. Let's see what. But he's the first guy who pops up. And now I know that he's affiliated with Presbyterian Hospital. Ooh, that's even bigger. But it all talks about Jamie in this particular thing. And what do we now know? We know where he went to school, where he did his internship and residency. We know his practice. We know his hospital affiliation. And we know how long he's been on the staff. That took about 9 seconds. Unless you're a slow reader, 12 seconds. But what I want to do is I want to look for the link. I want to look for something that I might have in common with Jamie. Possible connection. He did his internship in Roanoke, Virginia. You just happen to be from Roanoke, Virginia, and know people in their radiology circle. You got it? Now you can make a call. Now you can ask to link with him and tell him you're from Roanoke, and he'll absolutely link with you, and you'll start the relationship, and you'll make an appointment over a Starbucks cup of coffee, and for $5 you can start the process going. Now, that cold call, or that type of cold call, will succeed 100% of the time. Or you can start dialing for dollars like a moron, or you can keep doing the same thing that you're doing and get rejected most of the time. Now, if you're an older sales rep, I'm 65 myself, you may not be as familiar with LinkedIn as that 21-year-old punk who knows everything about the internet, and you hate him because you're envious of him. Start studying the internet. Start studying social media, because that is the new cold call. Let me give you another example. I'm a writer. I write on sales. Several years ago, I get a call from a guy named Ron Zemke. Ron was the author of Knock Your Socks Off Service and began this conversation with me saying, Jeffrey, I've heard a lot about you. I've asked several people in the marketplace. I want to write a book called Knock Your Socks Off Selling, and they tell me that you're the only guy that I should connect. I'm like, okay. I knew the guy. I knew his reputation. He had a great brand. And I thought, okay, I'll take a flyer with it, and I'll say, yep, I'm willing to do it with you. But I still had that kind of doubt. And he's from Minneapolis, and on accident or on coincidence, although there probably are no coincidences, I was going up to Minneapolis the very next week to do a seminar, and I thought, why don't I stop in and visit Ron, just to make sure he's legit and safe and la-di-da. So I call him up and say, hey, I'm going to be up there in a couple of days. Could I stop by and, just say, hey? And he goes, oh, sure. I walk into his office, and on his wall are all of these Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny Carousels, the things from the Bugs Bunny cartoons. And I collect those. And I thought, wow, he's got all these Bugs Bunny things. And I said, I collect these. And we started to talk about it. He says, excuse me for just a minute. And he leaves the room, and he comes back with this book. It's called Chuck Redux. And it's all of the Chuck Jones, the main Bugs Bunny guy for 50 years. It was a book about Daffy Duck. And he said, do you have this book? And I said, no, I don't. And he said, would you like one? I have 2 of them. And I said, I would love one. And he said, well, this one is signed by Chuck Jones. Ow. Now, whatever else this guy says, I'm going to listen to as though it's the gospel. He just gave me something that touched me in the heart. And it's something that we have in common. Immediately, I loved this guy. I became comfortable with him because of Bugs Bunny, because of Elmer Fudd, because of Daffy Duck, and because of Chuck Jones. I found the link. Ron Zemke and I linked because of Bugs Bunny. We ended up writing the book together. It ended up being a big success, and I had total comfort with the guy. He was kind of like me. The object of anything that you do with any customer is first find the link. If you can find the link, you can build a relationship, and they will come to like you. Now let's go back a little bit further, and let's talk about Andy and I. Andy Horner designed this entire webinar series from beginning to end. He designed all of the keynote presentation things that we're using, and they're amazing. Any argument with that? Don't you look at these and go, gosh, I wish my stuff was this cool. Okay, so Andy is gifted. And when he came to me at very first, I didn't really know that much about Andy, other than he was a kind of good designer. I didn't know how he thought or anything. But I was kind of groping around just asking Andy about some of the stuff that he did. And he said, oh, I also design children's books and write them. Really? I collect children's books. Really? And so Andy gave me a signed copy of his kid's book. Woo! And immediately we had something in common. We had the link of kids' books. He wanted to be a partner. I wanted to be a partner. But I was kind of looking for that thing that would make me comfortable. And believe it or not, between his book and The Little Engine That Could, we gained comfort. Where is your link? What is your link with your customers and your prospects? Your job in the new cold call is to go from LinkedIn to link. Can you get it? I knew that you could. But you're still messing around in the old world. So I'm going to give you some creativity stuff. Now, my definition of creativity is having a bunch of fun. You're not having enough fun. Let's assume you're a banker. You're having zero fun. You got all kinds of policies and procedures. You're so wrapped up in regulation that if your suit tie isn't matching your shirt tie, you're thrown out of the bank forever. And they take away your glasses or whatever it is. Basically, you're boring. No offense, but you're boring. And you go out on these blitzes to try to get everybody in the neighborhood, and all banks do the same damn thing. So you're walking out into a neighborhood that's already had 28 banks. And you walk out with your brochures and your business card, and boy, you're ready to go. I would leave my brochure at home. I would take a sack of those dollar coins, the Sacagawea dollar coin that no one can even give away because no one uses them. And you walk into the customer's place and you say to the gatekeeper, "Hi, I'm from the bank. My name is Bob, and this is a sample of our product. And I'd like you, if you possibly could, I've got 2 samples. One you can keep, and one I'd like you to give to your boss." Okay. But you have to do it now, and the boss has to come out and acknowledge that he got it because it's real money, and we have to, the bank, we have to keep track of the dollars that we give away. So I'll need his card in exchange for the dollar. Okay. And I'll need your card. Well, they don't give me a card because I'm just a receptionist. No, honey. You're the best receptionist in the world. Let that be your title. You're the director of first impressions. Let that be your title. And you build that person up at the same time you're trying to gain some kind of communication with the person who actually makes a decision. You got it? And what do you have in common? Money. The love of money. When you make a cold call, the numbers are not in your favor. Why is that? And the answer is because you're using zero creativity to put them in your favor. Rejection is the norm in cold calls. And keep in mind this. You're interrupting their day, whatever they were thinking about or whatever they were meeting at this moment. They're not going to accept you into their lives. They already have or they know about what you're selling or both. And the gatekeeper, whoever you're calling on, has heard everything. Everything. So what you have to do is do something that no one else has done. You have to ask for something that's not there or someone that's not there. Now, I want to take an aside here for just a moment and to tell you that people tell me right about now, I built my business on cold calling. Okay, wonderful. You've built a painful business and you're a manipulative person and you better quit that because that part of selling is over. And people have told me that they made a lot of money cold calling. We differ on the meaning of the words a lot. They could have made 10 times more if they'd had a referral network. What would you rather do, make 100 cold calls or have 100 referrals? Answer, 100 referrals. How about 100 cold calls or 10 referrals? 10 referrals, Jeffrey. Exactly right. Nobody wants a cold call. So what I do, when I was cold calling in the old days, I asked for something or someone that's not there. I compiled a list of new corporations that were being formed and building permits and people that had just bought a house. And I put them all in a thing at that time was pretty new called a database. And I printed it all out with the phone numbers. I put it on an Excel spreadsheet on my Mac, and I began to sell them for $40 a week. I'd walk into anybody's place and say, "Who's in charge of sales leads?" No one knew the answer. And as a result of it, a boss always appeared. And all I did was give them a bunch of them for free, and I would say, "Try these out. If you like them, subscribe. And if you don't like them, they fit just perfect inside the shredder." And I could close 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 on a cold call. Got that? And right now you're in a quandary because you don't even know who to ask for. You ask for the person that you think you want. Somebody in maintenance, somebody in advertising. You want to talk to the CFO. Someone in IT, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. But if you use your creativity and you ask for someone in sales, they will come out in 2 seconds. And they will go, "Sales, how can I help you?" and you go, hey, I'm a salesperson myself and I really need to meet with the CEO. CEO, right this way. And they will guide you in there. And on the way in, they'll tell you what kind of car he drives, where he went to college, what his favorite sports teams are, what his golf handicap is, what his kids' names are. They'll tell you everything because that's their job, sales. Let me give you another strategy that you can use in creativity. And this is something that many different people can use, but let me focus it on copiers. Because copier salespeople are the most maligned, and they walk in and they go, well, who's your copier with right now, huh? Well, how are they treating you, huh? Well, do you have a contract, huh? When does that contract expire, huh? Well, do you think we could bid on that business? Because I think we could save you some money. Every person says exactly the same thing, and nobody wants to save money. At the C level, they want to earn a profit. So, let's look at the new way of presenting your copy machine. You walk in and you have 10 pieces of paper in your hand. And you walk up to the gatekeeper and say, I have 10 pieces of paper. 5 of them are copies. 5 of them are originals. I'm going to lay them out on your desk. If you can pick all of the originals, I will give you this bottle of perfume. I would recommend Chanel number 5 because Chanel has a new perfume called Jersey and it actually smells like Newark. But I would go with Chanel number 5 because it's a universally accepted, just a little bottle, and show it to her. And show the 5 copies that you've made with your machine. She will not be able to pick out the 5 copies, but she will be engaged because she's the person who makes the copies. You got that? And you further say, look, if you can't pick the copies out, then I get a chance to meet with the boss. Is that fair enough? And if he can't pick them out, I'll give him $100. Ooh. In the meantime, let's go in your copy room and let me make 5 copies from your copier and let's see if we can pick those originals out or those duplicates out. Now this person is fully engaged, making me copies, trying to win the bottle of perfume, and is definitely going to get me to their boss. Got it? Or I could say, well, I'm selling copiers and I was wondering if you'd like a demo. A demo of a copy machine? Don't you just push the button? Eh? Well, a light comes on, and we're different because our button is a rectangular button, and theirs is a square button, so we are different. Dude, where's your creativity? Huh? Why are you still cold calling the same stupid way that you've been cold calling for years? If you're a bank, give me $1. If you're a copy machine, show me the copies and make me pick them. You got it? Now, let me give you a sophisticated way of making a cold call, a way that I promise you will change the way you think about the cold call process, but a way that you must be very careful about because this is a very powerful way. You call the gatekeeper of the CEO of the company. Oftentimes, the larger the company is, the more of a private gatekeeper they have. And you say, hi, my name is Jeffrey, and I have a blog on leadership. And I target 1 leader per month, come in and do an interview with him or her, with my photographer, and we publish that on my blog that is read by the most influential people in this region. And I'd like to interview your boss with my photographer. They'll only take a couple of snapshots, candid snapshots. Then we'll post that up on the internet. Oh, yeah, I want to talk to him about his philosophy of leadership and his success principles. Oh, they will never refuse you. You better have a damn good blog. You better have something you can show immediately. Show it on your smartphone. Interview your own leader. Show it on the internet. Show it on their computer. But what you need to do is make certain that you can gain that appointment. Now, when you're in that appointment, you don't ever mention what you do unless the CEO asks. And then you can take out your iPad and show him something cool. But in the meantime, you're filming his entire interview and you put that film up on your blog. Got it? Got it? Well, you may not got it. And I promise you that guy will show everybody and their dog, including all of the people in his business network, which can do nothing but inure positively to you. And if he does ask what you really do for a living, you can say, look, I'm here to interview you. If you'd like to have a sales conversation later, I'm more than happy to make an appointment with you. But I can promise you this, Bubba, he's going to accept your call for the rest of his life. So, These are the things you need. You need creativity or an idea when you walk in on the sales call. You need a smartphone so that if you need to record anything in audio or video or take a picture of anything, you got it right with you. You need business cards that are cool, not the dorky ones that you have. You need something cool like mine. If you look at my business card, the flat one, or you look at my coin card, you recognize and realize that I have cards that are actually coveted. But most important, you have to do the right preparation. If you're not willing to do the right preparation, you're going to be a 2 out of 100 guy. If you do the right preparation, you can be a 3 out of 10 guy. Totally up to you. You also have to understand that there's an outcome involved in owning whatever it is that you're selling. And I need you to go into that sales call, that cold call, and talk about the outcome. For example, if you're selling cleaning services, do you think they want a clean office, or do you think they want the image of clean when someone walks into their office? Oh, I want the image. Do you think they want a clean bathroom, or do they want to make certain that a dirty bathroom doesn't cause a loss of morale? You see, there's cause and effect involved in that. I'm telling you to do things that are out of the ordinary. I'm telling you to do things that might in some way create engagement and connection with you and that cold called prospect. If you don't have a reason to connect, they will tell you that they're not interested. If you have no reason to really connect, they will tell you to get lost. Depending on the geographic region that you come from, they will tell you to get lost and put some swear words in there. But let's look at it the reverse way. Let's look at it the new way. Why don't you go around? I have a friend who sells phone systems. And he went to every office in Charlotte and asked when their lease expired. And he would go to commercial real estate companies and say, hey, who would like a list of 50 offices downtown whose lease is going to expire next year? I do. And he would spread the leads out among 10 or 15 different commercial brokers. Who do you think they called for phones? The phone was moving, they needed a new system. This guy employed 50 salespeople simply by giving them leads. He provided value first. I also recommend as a strategy for doing things that you create an informal networking group. For example, if you sell air conditioner repair or air conditioner units, then you should be partnering with electricians and general contractors. You should be partnering with people that actually build driveways or fix roofs. All things having to do with either commercial homes or commercial businesses or residential homes, where you could possibly share leads with one another. Not a networking group where there's a bunch of people and all they're trying to do is hawk leads with one another. I'm talking about like-minded, like-kinded businesses that could potentially benefit from one another. The carpet guy is just as important as the air conditioner guy, is just as important as the plumber, is just as important as the electrician, and they all can do work in the same environment. This is not something where you got a bunch of people and you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole and everybody comes there trolling for leads. This is a place where you can actually build relationships by making certain that you are helping the other person in his or her business, because there'll be plenty of help in the end for you. But there's an overreaching secret. There's an implied process that I haven't done a lot of talking about until now. You are required for every single call that you make to do research on the person and the business and their products before you walk in their door. Because if you do the right research, you can find the link. If you do the right research, you'll come up with a creative idea. If you do the right research, you're going to seem to be prepared when you walk in. And if you do the right research, you might be able to discover an opportunity for them to buy your stuff. Or you can just walk in with your vomit and throw it on the desk and say, this is my stuff, how do you like it? I want you to make certain that when you walk in on that sales call, that first of all, you've identified the target and you've done all this research, okay? But don't ask about money or try to qualify them. Do you have a budget? When's the last time you bought? Is your Do you have a contract? When's the contract expire? None of that stuff. You just try to engage them, about them, and like them. One of my friends here in Charlotte is a very successful person who doesn't quite cold call. He has a big network of people here in the city, and whenever he's thinking about making a call on a specific company, he gets the name of the person, the name of the company, and sends it out to all of his contacts and says, hey, does anybody out there know this person? It's amazing what happens in return. You do social research, and you search until you find something or someone in common. Maybe you do it by asking your informal network, but you definitely do it online yourself. You saw what happened when we searched radiologists, and you saw how we made the social cold call. The social cold call is the new cold call, and you cannot get away from it. If you're going to try to link in with somebody, then it's real easy. You ask them to link with you and ask them if they would like a copy of the white paper that you just wrote about safety in the radiology room. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind having that white paper. Send it to me. Now, let's suppose you're new and you're already whining. Well, Jeffrey, I'm new, and I don't know anything because I'm stupid. And they gave me a book, and they said start with the A's and start cold calling. No, D'Artagnan. And for any of you that are cold calling who haven't done this, even if you've been cold calling for 20 years, you go out and you interview 10 of your customers, the good ones, and ask them a very simple question. Why did you buy from us? And then ask them, would they be willing to provide a referral to you? Why would they be willing to give a testimony? Why would they be able to refer somebody? And then when you go out on the cold call, you can say, would you like to know why our 10 best customers do business with us? And you'll actually know motive for buy rather than silly things about your brochure. Think about it for just a second. If you're a bank and you walked in, do you think they want $1 or do they think you want your brochure? Which one do you think? Banks have perfectly sized brochures. They fit perfectly inside of shredders. I want to give you another idea. In your city, if you live in a decent sized city, there's somewhere between 50 and 250 civic organizations. People who have members who are potential prospects. If your product can potentially fit a business person, or your product can potentially fit somebody who's retired even, you go into these Kiwanis clubs and you give a speech, a 20-minute speech about how to improve their life. Not what you sell, about how to make them better. Where to go on what's the best places to go for a weekend vacation? What are the 10 best places to play golf? Now, when I made when I made sales speeches in Rotary clubs and civic organizations, Kiwanis clubs, I gave a 20-minute talk on what we've learned from our children. Imagination, persistence, blind faith, all the stuff that kids are made out of. And I never talked about sales, but everyone knew I was capable. And at the end of every meeting, somebody always asked me if I would come speak to their company. Totally up to you. Totally 100% up to you. If you're afraid to speak in public, then go take a Dale Carnegie course on how to win friends and influence people. That would probably be the best thing you could do. And, of course, you have to do the research before you give that speech or die. I will admit to you that cold calling is difficult. It's probably the worst place to make a sale, but it's the best place to learn how to sell. And so you have to decide how to compromise with that situation to where you can get enough experience in cold calling to build your sales skills. Because it's going to teach you to find the right person, make a quick conversation, get in and out of there fast, get to the point, don't beat around the bush, no long sales pitch, because that person he's going to give you 5 minutes of his time, don't take 6. Engaging side. And I want to be on the side that makes my numbers reflect my capability. I want to be able to close 4 out of 10, not 4 out of 100, not 3 out of 100. In your case, maybe 1 out of 100. But I don't want my numbers to be so poor that they might cast a doubt on my ability to sell. You go all the way back to the woman that was crying in her boss's office when she first walked in. Do you think she would have still been crying if she would have gone home the night before and prepared 90-word commercials in favor of her customer, do you think they would have thrown her out, or do you think they would have engaged her? And my bet is 2 out of 3 customers would have appointed her right on the spot and got her in to see the boss because she prepared all about them. Let me also add here, because basically what cold calling focuses on is how to get you in the door, and it stresses very little about what to say once you get in the door, much less anything to happen after the sale is made should you incredibly make one. The new cold call is only the beginning. There's other challenges. Your greatest opportunity happens during and after the call. During the call, your job is to create an engagement. Your job is to create a connection, and you do it with value. As a result of that call, you can create or earn some trust. How do you do that? Well, Ace of Sales has emails that proves you're actually listening, and you can send them those emails before the call. You can send them that email 2 seconds after the call to prove that you're talking about things that affect both of you. When you engage with friendliness rather than corporate professionalism, you have a chance of building a friendly relationship. You have a chance of building a friendship with someone, recognizing the fact that people buy from their friends. All things being equal, people want to do business with their friends. All things being not quite so equal, people still want to do business with their friends. For years, I've espoused the philosophy, because some people tell me, well, Jeffrey, I have to be a professional. No, you don't. You have to be friendly. And so I've broken it down into 2 categories. Act professionally, talk friendly. If you act professionally and talk friendly, then you're going to fall into the category of flight attendant on an airline. You ever listen to the safety instructions when you're on an airplane? No. No one listens to the safety instructions on an airplane because it's spoken professionally. You have someone sitting behind a wall reading from a script into a bad microphone, and you have somebody else going through some gestures that no one looks at. And it's about your life if, God forbid, something goes wrong in the airplane. But no one pays any never mind because they're talking professionally. Got it? I'm on an airplane coming from Cleveland back to Charlotte, and the guy gets on, and at the end of his little talk, he says, "Please adjust your seats to the most uncomfortable position possible, and put away all your tray stuff. And in the unlikely event that you should have to use the seat cushion for a flotation device, please feel free to keep it with our compliments." And the plane was roaring with laughter because this guy decided to talk friendly. You got it? Act professionally, talk friendly. You have to walk in with personalized ideas. You have to walk into that sales call with stuff about them, for them, in their favor. You can direct them before the sales call to your blog, which is filled with creative strategies. You can direct them after your sales call to your blog, which is filled with creative strategies. And by directing them to your Twitter account with relevant tweets that might have a video attached to it. By directing them to your Facebook page where your customers are commenting and interacting, you will prove your worthiness as a serve person rather than just a sell person. And your weekly email magazine that regularly provides them with helpful free insight will also prove that you're a value provider. The most powerful way to build trust during and after a cold call is to be either proactive or follow through with something personal and something of value, especially after the call. That's when their mind is lingering about, should I do business with this guy, or have I made the right decision to do business with this guy? After the call, your job is to strengthen the link that you made during the call. During the call, your job isn't to close the prospect, it's to spark a relationship where the prospect will want to buy from you. Remember my first rule, people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy? You have to have something for them to enter your world. You have to research it. You have to find impressive, helpful things that will make you appear to be smart and well-informed. That's what you have to do in order to be able to make certain that that prospect has a mental engagement with you, not just a physical one. But you don't have that world because you're still thinking you're a sales rep, and you're still thinking cold call, and you're still thinking script, and you're still thinking overcome objections and other hoo-ha that has nothing to do with making a sale. You're thinking in 1972. Wake up and smell the Pop-Tarts there, sweetie. It's 40 years later. Rather than thinking like a relatable expert that you should be available, accessible, approachable, and authentic. If you're those things, if you're those four things, you're going to win. If you're not those four things, you're going to sound professional and people can't get a hold of you. And I'm either on my phone or away from my desk. Like, dude, get over that stuff. It's 40 years old. If you're going to make a cold call, then you better be relatable. So I'm going to ask you, where's your online world? What are you doing online that's going to give you credibility as you're sitting there? Because you see, when you make a cold call appointment to go see somebody or call them on the phone, they're Googling you. They're looking you up on LinkedIn. They're looking you up on Twitter. They're checking out your YouTube channel. They want to see if you have your own website. They want to see if you have a blog. And you can't stop them. The same way you're trying to find out stuff about them, they're trying to find out stuff about you. And what are you doing to make yourself a more credible human being? To build up a pre-existing form of reference that says, I have a reputation. And that reputation is impeccable. Other people have commented on it. That's where you have to be as a cold caller. You can't just go out and make a bunch of calls. You have to build yourself up. You have to know your prospect. You have to have done your research. You have to create some ideas. You walk in and you're engaging and you're compelling. And baby, you walk out with a sale. And don't think that's the end. That's the beginning. Once you get that sale, you build a relationship so that instead of cold calling, you can do the coolest thing on the planet. Earn referrals. So as you go back into your office and you say, okay, I've been impacted by this, Jeffrey. I really like this, Jeffrey. I want you to look at your entire sales pitch and ask yourself this question. Is what I'm saying in favor of my customer? And if it isn't, change it and you will change